This thing is really going to take the abuse. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Noble video. I'm inside the warehouse today. We have some of this up, but it's still not complete. It's raining outside, so we're going to shoot the video in here today. So it might be a little bit loud because it's not fully enclosed yet, so just bear with me. It's also a little bit dark, but today we're going to be installing our Noble wheel spacers. If you're like most people, you don't like the factory wheel setup on your car, and that's completely understandable. These premium WRX wheels actually look pretty good, especially with the red Brembos behind it, but they still leave some to be desired. So the design on these isn't too bad, and maybe you don't want to spend, you know, upwards of $1,000 getting a new set of wheels, but you want to add something to the car. You want to give it a better track stance. You want it to be more aggressive, or maybe you just bought a set of wheels and they don't clear your Brembo brakes, or they have fitment issues and you need to address that. Our solution right here is our Noble wheel spacers. This is a 20mm spacer. This is a 5x114.3. You guessed it, is hub centric. It's going to work with your factory Subaru wheels. These are very nice spacers. They're quality. They're well built. They come with the hardware. All you got to do is pop your wheel off, bolt this down, bolt your wheel to it, and we're done. It's that simple. It's going to give us a lot more aggression on these wheels. Let me show you the angle in which these wheels really suffer. So if you look to the back of the car there, you're going to see that that wheel sits really flush. That is a 9.5-inch Cosmos racing wheel. Up front, though, the story's a little bit different. Up front here, we have the factory 8.5-inch Subaru NK wheel. Now, adding this 20mm spacer, it's going to be almost equivalent to 3/4 of an inch. So it's actually 0.78 of an inch. So it's going to give us just about as much poke as that 9.5-inch wheel does. So with the factory offset, it's going to look very nice. Let's go ahead and get this thing installed. Now with the wheel off, we're going to go ahead and take these nuts off of the spacer. Rather than using your lug nuts, we are going to install this using these provided nuts. Get this lined up. Sit that on there, and we can install our lug nuts. So now, if you remember before, there's our 9.5-inch wheel in the back, and now up front we have our 8.5-inch wheel with a 20mm spacer. Right away you can see that this thing sticks out a lot further, looks a lot more aggressive, and it also fills out the wheel well very nice. Way better than it does without the spacer. And your car is also going to handle a little bit differently because it's going to have a wider track. So we can go ahead on the other side and compare this to our 9.5-inch wheel. And then come back over here to our 8.5-inch wheel with the 20mm spacer. I have a very scientific experiment for you. It is the next day now. I had to wait till the rain subsided, so I had to wait until today to do it. So it's the next day, but this is our Noble spacer that you just saw in the last video. There it is, Noble. And I'm going to go over some differences between our Noble spacer and some of the other common spacers on the market. So this spacer right here is a little overkill. It's quite a big spacer, probably a 2-inch spacer. But here's the difference. This right here is a generic spacer. This one is a 6061 aluminum. Now 6061 aluminum is what almost all spacers on the market are made of. And a lot of people are scared to run spacers because there's so much that could go wrong, right? Well, not necessarily. 6061 is pretty strong. The spacer isn't really gonna have, it's not gonna break, you know? Also, the hardware, or the studs that's gonna keep your wheel on and keep your wheel from flying off the car, is a 10.9 stud, so they're pretty strong. However, here at Noble, we like to just go over the top, so rather than having 10.9 studs, we have 12.9 studs, which are much stronger. And rather than having a 6062 aluminum, we opted for a 7075 aluminum, which is also much stronger. So just to give you guys that extra peace of mind, whether you're off-roading the car, drifting the car, tracking the car, anything you do, these things are gonna put up with it. Go ahead and put both of these through a torture test to see which one's gonna hold up better. We're gonna start off with a stud. Now, I don't know about you, but that stud looks pretty bent to me. See if we can bend one of our Noble studs. Still looking pretty straight to me. Let's give it one more really hard whack. Do the same with our Noble spacer. As long as I don't smack my thumb. All right, let's take a closer look. Let's go ahead and have a little comparison here. You can see this generic 10.9 stud is visibly bent. Up here is our Noble stud, which still appears to be pretty straight. Let's go ahead and test the strength of our metal. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of hit these against each other. That hurts. All right, right there. We look at this thing, fairly smooth. We do have a little pitting right there, but look at this. Look at those dents. That's pretty significant compared to this one. That stud is definitely bent, and these studs are perfectly straight. So if I'd be concerned about anything, it's not necessarily the strength of this metal, but the fact that we are using the stronger studs. You're not gonna have to worry about them snapping or bending, you know, and we're just trying to keep you guys safe on the track and anywhere you take your car. At the end of the day, being a hub-centric spacer with 12.9 studs and a 70/75 construction, this thing is sturdy, it's durable, and you're gonna be safe on it. You can take your car off-roading, drifting, to the track, anywhere you wanna go, and this thing is really going to take the abuse. Well guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. We have a little bit more work to do in this area, obviously, but we are getting there eventually, so stay tuned for that. But that's gonna be it on our Noble wheel spacer, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.